Jomboy Media has exposed thousands of new potential fans to cricket over the past year, and their newest warehouse games product, the Ball and Play League, features a hybrid sport called Blitzball, which is kind of like a recreational halfway point between baseball and cricket. Featured in that series were three young minor league cricket stars, Ray Remratton, Abraham Bolasetti, and Rohan Phadke. Joining me to discuss this exciting and interesting spectacle is USA Cricket U19 and Morrisville Raptors young star, all the way from his dorm in UNC, Rohan Phadke. Rohan, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, Nate. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while since that was recorded. It's finally been released, and your team won the very first season of the Ball in Play League, beating Jimmy and Jake's Splat Elite to do so. Splat Elite might have looked like the favorites to a lot of people, but Darren Sammy himself backed you guys the whole way. How did it feel to pull that off?
It was really exciting. I think just like the team environment and the way we were supporting each other was a lot of fun. And I know the guys, like the effort they put in, and we had a lot of fun playing out on the field. And I remember talking to Darren, I think before and after the final, and he was rooting for us, saying he always likes the little underdog win. So it felt pretty special to kind of go out there, do that there.
You batted first, I believe. Yeah, you batted first in the game. And it was a 2 innings games. For those who don't know, it's a 2 innings games, each with 3 overs. And so you had to bowl or pitch, in this case, a different pitcher / bowler in each of the 3 overs for each inning. So there were 4 players on the team. You had to kind of choose which guy got to bowl. That was part of the strategy that you guys had to deal with. And you guys really did kind of utilize strategy a lot. You were very strategic in deciding who bowls when. And you had Rob on your team, who throughout the entire tournament, throughout the 3 previous games, did really well taking wickets, but also, a little bit maybe expensive at times with the wides, with the extras, with the bad balls was what they were called in the Jomboy League. You opted not to pitch him in the final innings when Splat Elite had to chase a big target. That's a tall task, but we've seen similar things like this happen in cricket. We've seen that target chased down before. You guys went with BBD, Big Baby David, to pitch that last 6 balls. And I remember watching just the other day when they released the final, and Jomboy's team, Jimmy's team, was saying that this was an interesting call by you guys because they felt like they could hit BBD pretty well. Turns out you picked BBD to pitch that over because he was so good at avoiding the extra runs, which would have really benefited their team. That's pretty much what you guys were thinking, right?
Yeah, that was definitely our strategy going in there, because Rob was like a definite game changer and playmaker for us. We just felt like in those last, I think, 6 balls, to hit 4 sixes out of 6 balls is really difficult for them. So
right.
We thought we could get as many balls in the strike zone as possible. Like if we could just have 6 good balls and give them 0 extra balls, to be honest, we thought that gave us the best shot at winning, right? No extra runs, make them hit 6s out of 6 balls. And that puts the pressure on them. Then if they win, then they've obviously done something special. So just trying to put as much pressure on them there. And BBD did it really well. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's, scoreboard pressure is something we talk about a lot about with cricket. Is, whatever that total is that you're chasing, you still have to chase it. You still have to chase it down. You're looking at a target. When you bat first, you're not really looking at a real target. You got an idea what you want to score. But when you're chasing something, it's real. It's right there. And we saw that in the Major League final where Seattle batted first, scored, I think, 160 or so against the Atlanta Fire, who had blown the doors off New Jersey the day before. And 160 didn't look like it was going to be big enough against that Atlanta explosive batting, but scoreboard pressure, in a final, in a close game like that, in a big game like that, scoreboard pressure matters a lot. And I think a lot of the viewers that were watching this game, and yes, it was using baseball skills, kind of blitzball skills, really. You had the strike zone, you had overhand pitching, you were able to bend the elbow when you threw it. Your batting was with a plastic baseball bat. So the skills were baseball and the rules were cricket. So it was a great mixture of the 2 sports there. But a lot of people who were watching kind of a cricket game for the first time. They were watching cricket rules for the very first time. And so, I think that introduced the, maybe that concept of the scoreboard pressure to a lot of people. But it was great to me looking in the comments, seeing how many people really in just the 5 games of the entire tournament really understood the strategies that you guys were using, that the teams were employing. They were basically just cricket strategies.
Yeah, I think a lot of the strategies used were cricket strategies, like you mentioned. I think some of the skills were maybe more baseball oriented, but a lot of the strategies, I think, even in terms of like field placements,
Yeah,
and stuff, in terms like where people are going to hit the ball. I
yeah,
remember, I think there was a conversation we had where I think Jake was and Jimmy, they were trying to bowl like into me because they
right,
knew like my natural cricket swing. I'd want to hit it more towards like mid wicket, square leg in cricket, where in baseball
right,
you actually hit that down the ground, right?
right. In
So they were
baseball
trying to
terms, that's like pulling the ball. Yeah,
yeah, so I was pulling the ball and they wanted a bowl there so I cannot hit as many boundaries. Or I think there was even a tactic used in one of the games where instead of having like a guy behind the strike zone, like a wicket keeper of sorts, to kind of
right,
collect that bad ball, I think that player got moved out and there was like a more defensive field set. So
right.
those sorts of things are a lot more like cricket oriented skills where
Yeah,
uh how to set like a defensive field to protect the boundaries, or like when do you want to
right.
attack and kind of look for a wicket, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and we saw a lot of people, teams by the end of the tournament trying to get certain batters on strike. Some,
Yeah.
both the batting team was trying to get the hot hitter on strike, and the bowling or pitching team was trying to get the hot hitter off strike. So you mentioned players moving out of that kind of the third man, or what they called it was wicket keeper, but the third man region. That was the game. I believe it was. I think it was you guys against
We
Abiram's
played
team.
obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when
We
when you
kind of
when
left
Abi
that area wide open. We wanted to kind of like get him off strike because he was their
he
main
was
hitter.
annihilating it.
Get the other
Yeah,
guy on strike and then put the guy back in there so that like the other guy then has to look for the boundary and force the pressure on him.
yeah, yeah. That was great stuff. You guys utilized that very, very well, throughout the whole tournament. So I think, having a cricketer on each of these teams kind of helped every team since you were playing with cricket rules, basically helped each team understand strategy, kind of expedited or whatever you want to say, the strategy there. So the response was fantastic in the comments. I mean, these games didn't get 100,000 views or anything, but you're talking about 10,000 people watching, and essentially, gateway drug into cricket. And these are all American viewers pretty much. So that's excellent. When you read the comments, a lot of them are saying, wow, this makes me want to learn about cricket. This is making me, I feel like I watched my first cricket game. Or actually, while this game was being released all week, we had CPL in the playoffs. So there were people who were watching CPL for the first time because of this series. So I think it's been really successful as kind of that gateway for new fans, which is what really the sport was intended to be. We collaborated a lot with Jomboy, put our input into making the rules to try to make it as cricket as possible. The circle in the
Yeah,
strike zone.
that was a really good idea. As I thought of that. That was like similar to a bold in cricket
Yeah,
where it was just enough likely and just enough not likely at the same time. Oh yeah, a lot of the comments seemed really positive. I think a lot of them were like, "Oh, this is like the first time I'm seeing of cricket," but like they're like, "Oh, this is an interesting sport." And a lot of people talked about, I think, the commentary duo of Chris Rose and Darren Sammy. A lot of people I saw
amazing.
enjoyed that a lot. I know Chris Rose is very popular in the U.S., and then having Darren Sammy there, I think some cricket fans as well were like, "Wow, Darren Sammy is like commentating on like a baseball like cricket game." So it even like kind of like maybe cricket fans in the US who like a few of them who watched it, seeing like Darren Sammy there was really big for them as well because they're like, wow, like this is something special.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it really was awesome having Darren Sammy commentating basically the first time this particular sport's ever been played, and you have Darren Sammy and Chris Rose together, and they were absolutely magical, if you ask me. And I was up there keeping score. I was the scorekeeper for the games. sitting near them and just watching the two of them interact. It was completely genuine, and it worked from the start. It was absolutely amazing to see. So, and I'm thinking the whole time about Major League Cricket coming up, and I'm thinking, wow, imagine if we could get these two guys involved somehow with Major League Cricket. I mean, who knows if we do that or not, but at the very least, it would be awesome to have Darren Sammy involved. Now that people are seeing, the joy that he brings to the game. People who never watched cricket on Monday, by Friday, they love Darren Sammy. So, this was good exposure for him too, as far as, to American audiences. And yeah, it's just small beginnings, but I think one thing people have to realize about this series is, like I said, it didn't get 100,000 views or anything like that for any one of the games. This wasn't really their A team involved. So once you get like influencers like Nikki Cass involved, who has a massive following on Instagram, who has been involved in a lot of the Jomboy Warehouse games. Once you get we got ice guys, the baseball guys who specialize in the Blitzball. Once you get them involved in this, and hopefully also a group of cricketers in season 2, I think it's really going to take off. I think you're really going to see even more people exposed to the sport, and therefore exposed to cricket.
Yeah, it definitely was really special, and I think I can only see it going up from here. Like you talked about, Darren Sammy being on there was just terrific. I think it was really good, like a 2-time World Cup winner and like the big name that he is, and kind of getting in there, that was really special. And like you say, if even more big names come from like the baseball community and the cricket community kind of combine there,
Right.
I can only see it going up and getting like more viewership. And I like already probably a lot of American fans are like following cricket and seeing it as like, wow, it's really something special. And now they might like look at major league or minor league, at least, that's going on right now, and kind of start to take interest. So it's building like that American fan base for cricket, which from the start is really special. Like even if it's only like whatever in the tens of thousands right now, it'll like grow. And yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, and it's really cool being involved in cricket at this point. It's very exciting being involved in cricket in the USA at this point. We have minor league going on right now. I mean, you in just the last 3 years, the last two or 3 years, you've seen things greatly in this country. I mean, you right now the captain of your own team is a former test cricketer, Dane Pete, and he's taught you guys a lot. But how cool is it to be rubbing elbows with Dane Pete every single day that you go to practice? Like that's really amazing. And then of course, we've got Liam Plunkett, who played here in Morrisville. Now I'm wearing for those who don't know, I'm wearing a Morrisville Raptors hat. This is Rohan Phadke's minor league cricket team. And we have the best ground in the country here in Morrisville. We got a great captain with Dane Pete. So every time a team comes here to play, you get to interact with some of these stars. We saw Rakeem Cornwall here at Church Street Park probably more times than you wanted to this year, as much as he hammered the ball. It's just been such an exciting time. It really feels like the ground floor or something. Like I said, you got to meet and interact with Liam Plunkett, Corey Anderson, guys who just a few years ago would have been out of the question. You wouldn't have, and then on top of all that, we go up to New Jersey for the Jomboy stuff. And who do we get to hang out with after the events, after the recordings happen? But Darren Sammy, we went and had tacos with the guy.
Yeah.
That had to be amazing. I mean, it was amazing to me.
No, it was just terrific. Like 4 years ago, I wouldn't have thought like where cricket is today, it would have been like it was just I couldn't have imagined it. So it's really come about in leaps and bounds. And like you said, it's really special to be like rubbing shoulders with somebody like Dane Pete. Like the amount we learn from him, like on the day-to-day, like when we go to practice, when we play games, like the amount of knowledge he has about the game, it's really like great to learn about, especially as a young player, just like picking up on the things that he kind of tells us. And even like learning from Darren Sammy, he was just like talking to us like casually about like the World Cup win and like what like his strategy was going into the game, and that just like the spirit and that just like cricket knowledge, it like just comes through in all like things that they talk about. So it's something that like there's a lot of learning as like a young player that I feel like I can do just rubbing shoulders with them.
Right.
And of course, against people like you're talking about, we played against like Liam Plunkett, and that's like Rakeem Cornwall, and then a lot of like the domestic players as well that are like they play for the US team consistently and those things. So it's like it's a really competitive kind of start to minor league. So you definitely have to be on top of your game to succeed in minor league. So it's a
Right.
really good like start there, and it's it's just like something I want to keep like learning and growing from. It's really exciting where it's
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really fantastic. And also back to the Darren Sammy thing. We were at the hotel. We were trying to get together to go get some dinner, remember? And we see Darren Sammy coming back downstairs, and we're like, "Hey, you want to go get dinner with us?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And it was drizzling outside, and we walked to the place. I just thought, remember,
Like from him. It was a really cool moment. Like just like I was like, oh, like we're just like some like local boys from the US, and then there's like Darren Sammy like walking with us to get like dinner. It was that was
yeah,
something really cool. Like
it's an exciting time in the USA. You play for the USA under 19 team. Another guy that plays for the USA under 19 team and for the Morrisville Raptors is Abraham Bolasetti, who played for the Water Jugs in the Balls and Play League. He had a phenomenal season for minor league cricket this year with the bat. And I think watching anybody who watched the Balls and Play League and got to see him smashing sixes and fours, and that shouldn't be too surprised that he had a great season with the bat in minor league cricket. He even made the league under 21 team. So, you're friends with Abraham as well. So, both of you going to UNC right now, along with our buddy Amin Patel, who joins me regularly on these episodes. Talk a little bit about Abraham, about his skills and the season he had this year.
no, he's a really skillful cricketer, really talented, right? And obviously we saw that this season with his performances. And I think he's one of those players that really just like kind of in some ways just wants to express himself. Like he's gonna be fearless. And we saw that this season. He was really like just went out there and gave it his all, and he did really well in the role he was given.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really special to see coming like last season where he was more primarily a bowler, and then this season maybe he was like it was a different situation where he played compared to the previous season, but he still like thrived in it. He took it upon like he took the challenge on and still did really well. It's really special to see like as like a close friend, and just it was special to watch from the dugout, like kind of growing up with him, to see him perform the way he did. Really happy for him.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the great things to see for me is I know in his younger years, he was, obviously he's always been an all-rounder. He's always bowled and he's always batted. But in his, younger years, he would bat in like a more, top order position, like a number 3 or something like that. And I think when you look at the cricket landscape in the USA right now, it's really tough to make it as a top order batsman right now in terms of like projecting ahead into the future, like where, as far as the national team goes. However, this season, he's really cemented his reputation as kind of a slogging all-rounder, like a guy who can come in in the later stages of the game and just smash the ball, which is something that if you look at the USA team, something that we really, really need. It's something that I think will probably always, there'll always be room for a guy like that. So it's great to see his game evolve in a way where I think he'll actually make himself more attractive.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was really good. And I think like that sort of role was also given to him by the leadership group, and they kind of just backed him to like go out there and express himself, and then he took it on really well. So it was like a very niche role, and he thrived in it. So yeah, it's a really highly sought after role.
Yeah, and another guy that you played with the Raptors this season tied to Darren Sammy, and that is Matthew Ford, who plays for Darren Sammy's CPL team, St. Lucia. And Matthew Ford, another young guy, under 21 years old, incredibly powerful young man. But I'm thinking about in the playoffs, the game that you guys were eliminated in the playoffs, right at the end there, Matthew and Abraham were batting together, and it looked like they were going to win the game. And I remember Abraham absolutely laid into a couple, hit him into the woods. And I remember like you could hear above the crowd, above everything, you could hear Matthew Ford, you could see him jumping up and down, yelling, encouraging Abraham for that six. And it's cool that he has gone on to play with the St. Lucius CPL team, Darren Sammy's team. So there's a neat little tie right there between you guys and Darren Sammy once again, via Matthew Ford. What do you think about Matthew Ford?
I thought he was, again, a really exciting player, and he's only 20 years old as well. So, like, for us, he was like, oh, he's right about our age, like another young guy in the team, and a really good influence, really exciting, energetic, and like in the field, just very lively. He took a couple of stunners, like he was always in and around, wanted to be in the action, wanted to like really be there, perform, and like kind of be there in the crunch moments for the team, whether it was his bowling, batting, or fielding. I know,
Yeah.
like the shot to kind of get us into the playoffs, the off the last ball, like those are the moments he wanted to be in always. So, and it was great to kind of have him there with us. He was obviously encouraging of us, and he felt like a part of our kind of Raptors family that we created
Right.
there.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll see him with the Raptors again next year. I would love to call games with Matthew Ford in it. I love watching him play. It was great, being there to call those games, those exciting moments that he was such a big part of us coming down the stretch of the season. The other minor leaguer who was involved in the Balls and Play League, Ray Remretton, who was on the Splat Elite team, which was Jomboy's team. Ray is a phenomenal cricketer as well, plays for the New Jersey Stallions. They've gotten to finals weekend 2 straight seasons in a row because they're such a good team. But Ray also played for the USA U19 team when he was of age, and now he's 22 years old. But let's talk a little bit about Ray and what reputation he's got in this country.
No, I think Ray is a really talented cricketer as well. He's one of the guys I think we always look at is like he's very organized, always does the basics right. If you see, like, he's a really good fielder. Like I think he's the face of minor league fielding, to be honest. He was the best fielder last year and taken another like lots of stunners this year. And then even with his like bowling and batting, he's like one of those handy players that for the Stallions like just fits in there. I know like he won a couple of games or like a lot of games for them. He definitely won them a couple of games for them against us in the playoffs last year. And
Right.
he had a good like a lot of contributions for them again this year. I think he had like a last over win for them this year, and then like again contributed in the playoffs against us. So kind of one of those guys who's just really handy, and like we always knew he was like an integral part of their team. Like not one of like maybe a big name like Rodman Powell who played from last year, but always somebody who's going to be there and somebody that you kind of had to take note of because he was going to make an impact some way.
Right, and he actually had a club cricket game the day of the recording for the finals, and he was cutting it close. So at the end of the game, there were some comments that were giving him some slack about leaving before the whole presentation was done, but he had to hightail it out of there right away to get to a game that he had to be at. But you guys, because of how much cricket you guys play on the weekends, it's ridiculous. So for those who don't know, cricket in the USA tends to happen 100% on the weekends, as far as the games go. So yeah, he had to hightail it out of there. But Ray, yeah, phenomenal fielder, especially good all rounder. He's getting better every single year. This year, I think he got better as a bowler and as a batter. He certainly took big steps as a batter. They relied on him an awful lot with his bat this season. The Stallions did. We're here with the Morrisville Raptors. I do commentary. You're one of the players on the team. The community here is fantastic. As we know, the finals the last 2 seasons have taken place here in minor league cricket, and major league cricket looks like it's going to have some games here as well when it launches in 2023. Now the Morrisville Church Street Park, the venue, we believe is the best in the country. I know you'll agree with me there. And it's got stadium plans right now to upgrade it with some permanent seats. All of that building up to Major League Cricket next year in 2023. Now, how excited are you about Major League Cricket launching next year?
It's terrifically exciting, just like the possibilities that are there from it, and like the vision for it to be a professional league, to be playing on like high quality grounds, the facilities and like the effort that's being put into like Church Street, they're trying to make into a stadium. There's the Grand Prairie Stadium in Texas. the facilities that are being built for Major League Cricket, and then like the opportunities also that come from it, like that the players that'll come to the US to play Major League Cricket would be like right now we have like Dane Pete, Liam Plunkett, and then if even more come, that's just like more experience coming into
Right.
the US, like more big names. That's really special that like just to even interact with them to kind of learn from them.
Right.
And like, the fan base that they would also bring with them is like huge for Major League Cricket. And it's really exciting as an aspiring young cricketer to kind of look up to and see like a pathway there that minor league and then into Major League is providing. Like it's a professional pathway that we're looking at that is really exciting.
Pick one player in the league that you in the current minor league right now that you would absolutely have to put into a major league team. If you were the GM, if you were the guy in charge of the team, who would you pick? One guy, just one guy.
Into a Major League team, like an under 21 player or any player?
Any player. It could be anybody. It could be Unmukt Chan. It could be,
But that's currently in the US.
that anybody that's currently in the US playing in minor league cricket right now. Who would you put in major league cricket? Who would you have to have on your team? Could be Aaron Jones, could be Steven Taylor, Harmeet. It could be, Andres.
I think I'm gonna go Hermeet Singh on this one. Probably the best left arm spinner in the country. And the way he batted, that was like in the back end of the minor league tournament was like something special. I would have probably picked him or Obis, one of the two.
Yeah.
Probably two of the real top players that, in my opinion, that like I feel like really stood out. I mean, there's a lot of really good players, but those are two of like players that I've seen up close that I think are really good. But yeah.
I think it's a safe bet to say both of those guys are going to be big name players in Major League Cricket next year. Obis, you got to see him firsthand up close in Morrisville. He was a game changer for the Raptors this year. What are your personal goals for the upcoming season? And what are your long-term goals with cricket?
I think upcoming goals for the season would just be, I think, to have a bigger impact, bigger like contribution to the team. I think definitely want to be there more as like a senior player, kind of transition into one of the senior players into the team, and be kind of there, like contributing to the team in the crunch moments. I feel like that's one of the areas where we probably like this season. I felt like Lahiru, Obis, Dane, Shiva, the senior guys really stood up for us. But if the young guys like me, Abi, Sanjay, Aditya Padala, if like the few of us can really stand up for the team, then I think we have the potential to go all the way. Then it just be like if the four of us can execute, we'll be there in the finals weekend, just like all the other teams.
Yeah, and if you can build that way with all the youth that you have on this team, you could be in the race for league championship every year for Lord knows how far ahead. But yeah, it's really exciting right now. Encourage everybody who's watching this to like kind of like follow along with Major League Cricket upcoming this year with minor league. I'm really stoked because they're supposed to stagger them. They're supposed to be minor league first and then major league. So if you start watching minor league, you can start to see who's going to make the major league. It's kind of, you get to see all of that happen in one summer. It's like kind of a farm to fame type of thing right in real time. It's very exciting. Hopefully we'll see more of Darren Sammy. I know there's going to be a second season of the Balls in Play League. Let's see when they record it. But I'm stoked to watch it, and I'd like to see how this game evolves. I guess the last thing I'm going to ask is there one rule change you would make to the Balls in Play League, or did you like it just how it was?
I felt like the six, it was a little high, where there were not as many sixes as perhaps could have been, but that would be like more entertainment. But I think other than that, it was really good. I think eventually though, after people figured out how to hit the ball, there were pretty high scoring games. Like the qualifier and the final were really high scoring games.
Huge.
For sure. So like it was almost like perfect the way it was. Like it was a great combination of cricket and baseball.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about it was it's each innings. Yeah, there are only 3 overs, but it's 3 wickets too. So anything can change.
The bat change was like that required a little bit of strategy as well in terms of how hard you wanted to go and like what sort of run rate you were trying to look at with the different bats, because there are obviously like different scoring options. The bigger bat probably allowed more of like a hitting zone. So
Sure, but it was also shorter. So
it was
I
shorter.
think
Definitely.
I think with the bigger bat, I think you would want to throw the ball away more. You know, pitch it to the outside strike zone, which brings into play the risk of bowling some bad balls. I think a little bit more. That high inside curveball was probably the most dangerous pitch, because if you hit it, it's going straight up in the air. If you don't swing at it, it could drop into that circle. I think that was the most dangerous ball of the tournament. If someone had a good slow high curveball, it was tricky. But
Yeah.
they did try to get you to swing at those balls. Did try to get you to hit those into the wall, those pitches into the sidewall, so that they could get the catch off the rebound. But you did a really good job of not getting out that way.
I think I was talking to you and somebody else in between one of the games, and I tried opening out a little bit more, because I remember in the finals, I think Jake was really trying to bowl like those high, like
Yeah.
kind of curveballs. I just tried opening up and try to hit them as straight as I could, like not pulling them.
Right. You did a good job of that. I did notice that you were trying to, kind of keep them straight,
Yeah.
swing a little later. But yeah, Rohan, great talking about this with you. I'm excited about Major League. Obviously, this has been really exciting, the Balls and Play League. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. Really exciting to be here.
Awesome. Thanks.